Okay, good morning, guys. Hope we're doing well. A big night last night. Hope everyone's okay and safe. I guess we're going to have a bit of a rough open, so that's much expected with retail on the open after seeing yesterday and seeing the Dow. You would expect it to get knocked around on the open, so we've only got, well, I think, about 3 positions left, and I wouldn't be surprised if they all get taken out. Probably 2 of them are going to get taken out just on the open. One's going to be the open, I guess. Another one may be around about then, so look, it happens. We knew the risk jumping in when the market's stretched, but still looking good. And then it just turned on a dime. So I found it interesting. I want to go over, let me just get one thing up. I want to go over, actually, let's do it here. Just a few things. So where the key markets are, okay, what we've been talking about recently, the macro, where they're at. You know, are we in a meltdown mode at the moment as there's levels being triggered? It's kind of an each way bet at the moment. We'll see what happens tonight, whether there's more follow through tonight, whether we get a bit of a bounce. The overnight futures on the Dow is bouncing at the moment up a couple of 100 points, but you're going to expect a bit of a squeeze on that. I'll show you just so you can have a bit of a chuckle, a bit of a trade that I just did, and I turned it off completely at the wrong time. Got out, sorry. So this was what I was just looking at that. I bought into that little spike there. You can see that pop. I got only about 10 or 15 points, and it's up. It's up over 100. Well, close to 100 now. It's about. I got in at 14. I can't remember where I got out. Up near 30, and it's now 24.08. So it's 25.408. I got in at 25. 3. What did I say? 314. So bit of a bummer, but you can see the reasoning behind that. You got so many shorts that were being built up. So you're expecting some sort of squeeze on the open, whether we get a major push higher, a major squeeze higher of all those shorts that are built up, or whether we a bit of a pause. So the key anchor is probably up towards here, this level, if I can get that. All right, if it lets me. Anyway, the key anchor is up to about that level up there, which is somewhere around 25,650 or thereabouts. So it's still pushing higher. So it's a bit of a bummer to see that. I mean, I just switched it off because we're doing the stream, so it's a bit of a shame, but that's what happens. You've got the SPY, which is pushed right down to the support zone overnight. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on the open, whether we pop on the open. We don't open as negative, but we'll just have to wait and see. So let's take a look at the indices now. That's the XJO. Big clean out yesterday. So if anyone wasn't watching, it started. We did have a bounce. That's the XJO from the open from 10 o'clock. The futures did sort of pop up and then it got sold off. So it was continuation in the US market. They had a bit of a sell off, but they weren't looking too bad. So we might go across at that as to start with. They weren't looking too bad. And I want to look at the mini into that session. So it was somewhere around here. All right, so I'll go through this price action just to keep an eye on. So when you look at the markets, what can you expect to happen, blah, blah, blah. So we had big night on Friday, followed up with Monday night, big night. We opened up on Tuesday after a long weekend. Didn't do too much, to be honest. Thought it would have been a bit better. And then it hasn't been so great since. And the US has sold off Tuesday night, Wednesday night a bit, and they got smacked last night. So pretty much given up all the gains plus a bit more from Friday and Monday. All right, so you can see the price action wasn't too bad, but then when it kept going down, that pretty much dragged down the Asian markets. It started drifting lower, really coming under pressure. So any pops were getting sold into on the futures market, in the overnight market, and that sort of dragged down. You can see the Hang Seng was trying to hold up. It was looking okay. It kept bouncing, but then the pressure was just too great, and they started caving in as well. And then that dragged us down as well. So pretty much all markets headed south. Don't know. Look, I wouldn't know if it's a bit of a setup for the US open to drag the futures down. It gaps down on the open on the index, and you know that there's going to be selling pressure, and that cleans out a lot of people from the late rally, that got in late to the rally. So the action, what you'd want to be taking note of, you can see this market pressed up, had a good pullback. So that's cleaned out a lot of this move up, cleaned them out, started to grind back up, and we started to get sort of that overbought territory again, where buyers have really given a good nudge. They're running out of steam. They're running out of steam at a lower level. So you got this sort of minor double top there, then it pushed down, started taking out some of these levels, retraced, had another double top here, and we call that a retest fail, retest an anchor and fail again. So by about here, that's when I think end of the US session, things were starting to look a bit rough, and you got a bit of an extension once the overnight markets opened, a bit of a small rally which gave up, and from there it was just constant selling in the US market into the futures. So it's something you want to just keep an eye on. Overnight markets in the US, what they're doing at the moment, we're popping, but you would expect that after this sell-off, you would have expected some sort of bounce to come out. Now, longer term, I think I've got it on here. We're right down into this zone here, which coincides with a few levels. I might have it on the Dow. That's probably better. On the Dow, so the futures can fluff around, but on the Dow at the moment, we've got, the market rally went sideways from here. It was capped at about these highs, and that was about where it broke out from through that zone. And we're back down there now. So the market's extended. It's come back into a minor resistance level. So maybe that was it. Maybe that's the move up. That's the bounce we've expected from this big sell-off. Or maybe it's not over just yet. We're going to keep an eye on it. Yeah, we are definitely following the US. Pretty much everything's following the US at the moment. So if they cave in, we all cave in. And it's got a lot to do with the US dollar as well. So this is, like I said, the overnight markets. Whether or not that's the start of something, or the Dow is going to hold up, who knows? Or it's going to hold up and bounce off this level. At the moment, yeah, we're looking like we're getting a bit of a bounce, but I wouldn't factor too much into that, because if fear starts driving, you can forget about support zones a lot of the times. But it's whether or not that's starting to get soaked up and we do get a bounce, and then what happens from there. If we get a bit of a correction up, I'll be watching for, if we get this kind of price action where it's a bit uncertain, I'll be a bit concerned that we are going to head south. If everyone can see that, I might have to change that. All right, so that's the kind of action you could be looking for. If it's a bit tentative going up, then it's going to come down in a screaming heap as well. And that's where I think you really get that acceleration to the downside. Yeah, definitely some profit taking. I mean, why wouldn't you? You'd have to be. And it's whether or not that was a setup to trigger that profit taking, but still holding that trend, because that trend up is still intact. The longer term trend, like we're saying, this trend up is still intact. It could still be intact after tonight. It may bounce off tonight. We may rally 300 or 400 points in the Dow tonight. We might make back 600 into the weekend, which would be great. I think there's going to be some damage on the ASX and the Open, obviously. But if we do that, that's going to play in nicely. But now if you go look at the broader market S&P, it's a slightly different story. But still, this could be a zone where it's popped into that zone. So this is what we're looking at. Same sort of scenario. I mean, that trend up was intact probably till halfway through last night, and then got blasted straight through that rising support. But we're roughly in this zone now where, look, we may or may not expect some buying. So this is what I'd be more inclined to think that, if we say we go through that and we start to bounce and we do a bit like what we saw on the Dow, and it runs out of puff, then that's what you'd be looking for. And it's worth building up some shorts if you get this sort of grind back up. You don't want to see a grind up. You want to see a good sharp pop up, pull back, and then another sharp pop up, if that makes sense. You want to see something, say it goes into support, good retracement, minor pullback here, and a good extension. That's the kind of thing you want to see for bullish action. It's not bullish when it sort of starts to grind and it gets through the highs by a small amount, and it's dragging people in and turn around and squeeze them back out again. All right, so that's NASDAQ. We know what happened to NASDAQ. It got through into all-time highs and just collapsed overnight. So that was pretty much in one foul swoop. A couple of nights was looking good, then boom, straight down. So same as what we're seeing on the S&P. Is this the level? Do we keep selling off the next few days, or what's going to happen from here? It could be a fake out. We need more information, I would expect. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. I think this is the key thing to keep an eye on. These markets, the NASDAQ doesn't look so crash hot. But like I said, on the Dow's not too bad. The S&P, a little bit different. But again, it all depends. If we start seeing a bit of a drop tonight, then I think that's going to be a problem. The US, like I said, I think it's pretty sure it's bouncing still. Let's just see where we're at there. If I can get it up there, that'd be better. So we've gapped up on the open, which is actually quite good on the futures. Could be a squeeze though. So this is what I'm concerned with. There's massive amount of shorts built up, don't forget, right into the close last night. Bit of a squeeze up, and then we'll see if this starts to run out of puff, do we come down and build another higher low? And this is what you'd be watching for if we start, we do this kind of thing, aren't we? If that worked, we do this bit of a squeeze up, and then what happens from there? If we run out of puff, another little squeeze, and do we come back down and retest this low? So that'd be the thing that I'm watching for intraday come into the US session. I mean, there's no reason why we can't start holding this higher level and then go back up again into the US Open. Because I think if there's still some bullish sentiment around, the markets could surprise just as much. We got surprise on this downside. I still think it's a tad of a setup. We got surprise on the downside. Are we going to get surprised back on the upside? So a few things to watch. And going over to gold. We've got gold here. Gold did pop up, but again, once the US dollar started to fade, gold backed off pretty quickly, and it's at that 1740 zone, potentially up to 1750. It's running out of puff, and we've been there a few times now. We've got this major resistance once we pushed up through, had a pullback, lower high, and we got this contraction lower, had another run up to this inside level around 1740, failed again all the way back down to the bid zone. Are we going to do that again? Are we going to fail back down to the bid zone? Now, by watching that price action, if the US dollar starts to rally, there's a good chance it will fail. I wouldn't be putting my money on a good bull run into gold just as a safe haven. It just hasn't been shown that. Now, Aussie gold reacted differently because you got the Aussie dollar melting down. Okay, so if gold backs off, but Aussie backs off faster, of course, Aussie gold in Aussie dollar terms, is going to go up. So it did okay. Look at copper. Now, we've spoken about copper as a bit of a barometer also. That trend up, if we can take that right back, is still intact. We were talking about this yesterday, once we got through these highs, if we go back to a 4-hourly, computer's very slow today. I don't think it's going to help me trading, is it? So that was where the market sold off. We got the meltdown. Now we got right back up and through that resistance. So you expected there's going to be a lot of stops piled up above that. They've targeted the stops, triggered them, turned around and squeezed them back out. So anyone that was buying on it, and to enter through that level, has got squeezed back out. Anyone that didn't take any sort of profit in here as longer term traders have just been squeezed out as well. So what we could be seeing, maybe a bit of a contraction, but the trend up is still holding. So there's a few interesting things that nothing to me is saying hard and fast, we're going to head south now. That's it. Last night was the start of a major correction lower. Copper's not saying it. There's a bit of a blowout on the upside. We get a pullback. We could reset here at around 251 and start to rise again on increasing demand, or the prospect for increasing demand. Oil did fade. It did back off, but that trend to me is not. Go to a half an hour chart. We've got key support here, this leg up. We're contracting this leg up. So if you can see what I'm talking about, we've got run up here, and that to me is a pullback. Up here, pullback. So it just depends. What do we do from here? Do we start to fade, hold this level and rally again? But again, it's going to depend on US dollar, and it's going to depend on, if US dollar starts to rally, crude is probably going to come under some pressure. And obviously, if the markets fade again tonight, they're going to come under pressure. So that's oil. I want to look at the dollar index and a couple of the currencies. Now, we spoke about this. Obviously, the dollar is extended down into support. We were wondering whether or not that yesterday, whether that can hold up, and it did. I mean, nothing to say. The only reason that started to get bought up is a safe haven. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We're going to wait and see, I guess. Fill in your bags. That'll be interesting. So I want to see some sort of confirmation. I mean, it'd be interesting to see how we go on the ASX. I don't know, you guys ASX traders on TradingView, or are you trading mainly futures, indices, currencies? What are you trading there? We'll take a look. I'll make this one. Normally, I'm only going for about 15 minutes. I might talk a bit longer just to see how we go. So the dollar index has bounced. It'd be interesting, again, to see whether we do have a bit of an extension and then trade back into that zone. And, what do we do from here? But either way, I mean, there's enough stocks in the ASX, fantastic. There's enough dollars in the system to keep the pressure on. And if they do more stimulus, there's going to be more dollars in the system. Okay, so that's going to cap I would say a US dollar rally, but again, when it's fear drives the market differently to fundamentals or anything else. There's that fear as well, FOMO, fear of missing out, which is the reason why we're so high. Everyone got caught off guard by the amount of bullishness in the market. Over to the Aussie now. The Aussie is also a barometer for risk, and I just want to see if that's this most recent leg up, again, is still intact. So there's a few things we've got come up in that zone. We flushed it out, had a pullback. Are we just pulling back to reset off this rising support to rally again? Or, what are we doing? At the moment, if you're going to sell here, you could get caught out with a bounce on the Aussie. We could go all the way back up into that resistance zone, or we could find resistance off here and start to fade again and really start to sell off hard. So I think it's really too early to say whether we're gonna roll over hard or what we're going to do. If you look at the euro also, euro was, with regards to US dollars, that was a bit of a favorite, and that too really touched here, didn't really touch here. We're about there now. Hasn't broken the anchor. To me, the anchor is around here for that uptrend. You can see the market's popped up, bit of a pullback from this level, pullback, extended pullback. So there's no reason why we can't hold here. We'll just have to see what they think the US dollar is going to do. So that's about it. That's all I really wanted to touch on. Pound has fallen apart a bit. They got Brexit to worry about as well. That did push up through a key resistance zone, pull back. Are we going to hold and rally again? Again, just we have to wait and see. I mean, all we can do is trade what we see. So, got a few, put together an action plan, I guess, of what you think, what you're looking for. Let me just see. Sorry, I've got to get onto something else. It's Friday, yeah. Yeah, so futures are up. Let's just have a look to see if yeah, so it could be a flush too. Don't forget, there's a lot of shorts built up overnight. They need to squeeze them out. So do they squeeze and hold and go again, or do we squeeze, rally up, drag in a few buyers, and then turn around and just dump on them and straight through support? So we'll see how we go, guys. Anyway, better call it a day. It is Friday. Hope you stay safe today. And if we do see another sell-off, just make sure you know where your risk levels are. I mean, you can always jump back in if it starts to go again. If it is a bit of a fake out, a bit of a squeeze on some of the longs, the late longs into the into the ASX, into the DAX, into the Dow. All the major markets have gone a bit hard. Do we need a reset? Are we going to reset over the coming days? All these sorts of things. I don't want to be holding fully loaded, come into that. I'd rather be just seeing what happens and then start to edge back in if it does start to head up, or build a short position. I'm looking to also build a short position if we start to really sell off hard. So we'll try to keep an eye on that as well. All right, guys, have a good day. Enjoy yourselves, and we will speak again next week. So with regards to the stream, I'll do this, the morning playbook I'll try to do every day. Generally not Monday, because we do a full stream on Monday at 12:30 to 1:30. And then, Tuesday to Friday, I'll do one about 9:40, same time for about 10 or 15 minutes, usually around 15 minutes. So feel free to join. You can feel free to join in our website. Take a look. You get all details. It's in our profile on TradingView. Yeah. All right. No, guys, enjoy your day. We'll speak to you again later.